Okay. Oh, oh, okay. It says pause here. Here. Got it. So I'm on. All right. Cool. Cool. All right. Take it easy. All right. Okay. Hello, everybody. I see that we still have some people joining, so we'll give it a minute or two before we get started. As you can see, I'm on the beautiful beaches of Tahiti. I'm really not. This is one of the screens that I get to pretend with. So, but yeah, we'll wait for a few more minutes before we get started. All right, they're coming in, man. They're coming in troves. All right. Hopefully everyone is having a great day today, on this fine Thursday. We'll give it a couple more minutes here and we'll get into it. All right. We'll give them one more minute. Okay. So what do you guys say? Let's get this party started here. So yeah, I just first want to thank everyone who's joined the call. Really appreciate your time and I know everyone here is busy. So I really want to just say thanks for joining this webinar on what I think is a great subject matter, which is an attack market, which we'll go over. Few housekeeping things here that we'll talk about is you feel free to ask any questions. Put it in the chat and or the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. I'll be able to see those, and then at the end, with your questions, I'll just kind of rip through them and answer any questions. And secondly, there's at the end of this presentation, we're going to send everyone who joined the webinar a document that we use to do deep research when we're conducting an attack market that you could use for your own research projects, and how we use AI and how we use other tools to really start understanding markets, segmenting markets, and understand the landscape. So that's kind of our little gift. Thank you to you guys who have joined the call. So if you guys are ready, we're going to get started here. Let me get this presentation going. And I'm going to share my doc. All right. Okay. So again, thanks again for coming. This is Attack a Market, where we define it, attack it, and own it. We've been doing attack markets for over 20 years. In fact, Dale Dean, the founder of DeanHouston, first introduced the attack market about 20 years ago. And then when I joined, he brought me in and we just kind of advanced and accelerated the program further. So what we're going to share with you is kind of our thought process on how to attack new markets, adjacent markets, and kind of give you an idea and hopefully some takeaways for you guys to take away and use within your own sales and marketing initiatives. So real quick, those of you who might not know who DeanHouston is, we are an agency that is where we enable growth-minded companies that offer technical products and services, and we help them accelerate growth. We help them engage customers, build relationships, and build their brands of enduring value. And we've been doing that for over, I think we're going on now 37 years working within the B2B space. And we're very proud of that tenure, and we're proud of all the clients that we've worked with to help them achieve their objectives and goals. Um, a little bit about me. I've been doing this for about 30 years. I know some of you are probably thinking like, there's no way. It's probably 15 years. But yeah, 30 years. 11 of those years has been with DeanHouston. And my current role is the Executive Vice President of Strategy, where I work with multiple clients across multiple markets to help them develop their commercial strategy. Formerly, I was the Vice President of Global Marketing for PSG, and I was with PSG for 18 years, where I learned a lot there, and I was really kind of sunk my teeth and really kind of learned the B2B sales and marketing side of what I do. Happily married, I got 3 kids. I'm a Laker fan, Dodger fan, and a Raider fan. I know some of you might have been like Raider fan, but yes, I am a Raider fan. And when I typically do these webinars, I always have a confession to make to the group. And today, my confession is that I have an unhealthy affinity for the breakfast burrito. In fact, if any of you come out to Southern California, where I'm located at, I can take you to some really good Mexican breakfast burrito spots. So hit me up, let me know, DM me, whatever. Just get in contact with me. All right, so what are we going to cover? We're going to cover what is an attacker market, kind of give you an overview, give you that strategic framework. How do we solve growth challenges? Who's an attacking market for, right? And what do you get out of it? And then kind of give you the methodology at a high level of how we do it. And then just wrap up with key takeaways. And then hopefully we'll have about 10 to 15 minutes to do some Q&A and answer some of those questions. So let's jump into it. So an attacker market really is an integrated sales enablement program that empowers companies, right, to identify, penetrate, and dominate high-valued niche markets. You have companies that might be in a stagnant or declining market, or you might have companies that are wanting to expand into a new market, right? We also use an attacker market to align sales, marketing, and product teams, all coordinated in an effort to go after a business objective, a goal of some sort. And we use that alignment to really use it as a force multiplier to grow that market segment, to accelerate growth within that niche market that you've decided to attack. So with that said, an attacker market really is just 4 pillars, right? And the purpose really is to, right, not only grow from a financial perspective, but grow from a knowledge and a professional perspective as well, right? And we start with building that foundation, kind of building that strategy and pointing that strategy on and focusing it on a single niche market, right? And oftentimes you might be entering a new market, or you might need knowledge in that market space, how to sell into that space, or how does my product or service apply into that space. So one of the first things we do is we educate internally our sales teams, as well as educate the market on our products and services. So we try to gain as much market and application knowledge as possible. Then the next step is motivating, right? How do we motivate the sales team? How do we identify the opportunities? How do we identify the personas and the people that want to engage and want to talk to us about our products and how we can help them? But more importantly, it really is about building confidence, right? Arming our sales team with that confidence to get after it, to go after a market that maybe they're unfamiliar with, but they're real comfortable with the technology. And all they need really is the application knowledge and the market knowledge to start knocking on doors and start having those deep, intimate, value-added conversations that we want to have. So we want to build that sales confidence. Then lastly, what we do is we activate the market, right? We prepare the battlefield, right? And this is a coordinated event, right? It is a coordinated sales and marketing approach where, let's say, marketing manages the air campaign and sales is managing the ground campaign, and we're attacking a single market together, right? And we're sharing information. We're trying to understand what's working, what's not, what's resonating, where are the opportunities, and really, it's a collaborative effort. And in order for us to win the future, and this is going to have to happen. Sales and marketing are going to have to work a lot closer together for a common goal and objective in order for us to really gain market share or outflank the competition or to achieve our objectives that we want, right? So an attacker market helps us overcome those growth challenges, right? And the idea is to accelerate commercial momentum, right? And we want to build these attacker markets to help companies refocus on their strategic initiatives onto winnable niche markets that have, healthy growth CAGRs, where there is a product fit into an application. We want to strengthen their go-to-market strategies by aligning our teams, by delivering compelling value, not just talking about the features, right? But the value that we bring. How is this product or service going to make you money? How is it going to save you money? How is it going to mitigate risk? Why do you care, right? Those type of questions. And then what we want to do is we want to understand what is our differentiation, and not only understand our differentiation, but we want to differentiate with authority, right? And we need to clarify the value of our service and products that we deliver to the market in a cohesive, concise, and succinct manner, right? And then what we also do when we work with our clients, we do this discovery session. And in that discovery session, we try to uncover hidden opportunities and identify those growth gaps. In fact, let me tell you a little story here. There was a large pump manufacturer in the Midwest, and this was during the Great Recession, and they had a dominant market share percentage in fuel transfer refined fuels, right? But they were given the task to grow their business, and so the question was, how do we grow our business when we already have a dominant market share, right? And so this was kind of the challenge that was given to the sales and marketing folks. And so we sat down, we had like this brainstorming session, and we asked ourselves three questions. It's like, okay, how do we do this? Well, let's ask these questions. And the questions were what is our product ideally suited for, right? And who is our ideal customer? What is our ideal customer profile? And can we mine any current data that we're sitting on, right? And so oftentimes what happens is when people and companies want to expand into new markets, the first thing that we always look at is, what is the internal data telling us? Are there opportunities? And guess what? Lo and behold, we found the opportunities. And there were two key takeaways from that story. One is the group had a mental model shift, right? They were locked into, hey, all we do is refine fuels and fuel transfer, right? But then once we kind of started talking it through and kind of brainstorming, we moved beyond just refined fuels. And we said, no, we're really not refined fuels. It's thin fluids. And so that opened up our minds to say, okay, what other applications and other markets have similar operational parameters and similar media properties to a thin fluid with a certain type of viscosity, temperature, operational parameters, et cetera. And then coupled with that mental shift, we looked at the data they were sitting on, and we found that they were selling into soap and detergent manufacturers. And we're like, why are they selling into soap and detergent manufacturers? This was kind of a revelation. And we ended up digging deep, and we ended up finding that the applications they were transferring as glycol and triglyceride, which had a similar thin fluid property. And so what that did is that opened up our curiosity. And that is one of the first attacker markets that we did, was soap and detergents. And so the great company in the Midwest, what they did is they assigned soap and detergent to a market manager whose all his job was to just dive into that market. And so we developed that attacker market and we had great success. And we were able to grow even in a difficult market by attacking a new market that wasn't even on the radar in soaps and detergents, right? So, like, those are some of the hidden opportunities that sometimes we find. And lastly, what we want to do is these attacker markets oftentimes unites teams, right? We develop rallying cries. We're purpose driven. We know where we're going after. We know where the opportunities lie, and so we're like a cohesive team going after it. And all of this is backed by data, right? And it's not just off the whim or off the cuff, like, hey, we want to go into this market. No, there's rationale as to reasons why. So I just kind of want to kind of highlight that story. I always like that story because it really encapsulates what an attacker market can do. So who's an attacker market for, right? Well, it's an ideal for growth-minded leaders who are looking to seize high-value niche markets, right? Who are trying to build beachhead. So, like, if you've got aggressive growth goals, right? Or maybe you're in saturated or commoditized markets, or maybe there's a 800-pound gorilla you're trying to wrestle, right? A highly competitive marketplace. Maybe you have to diversify. You're looking to diversify your portfolio into other markets and maybe applications, or you want to expand into new or emerging markets, right? Or you want to accelerate your market knowledge and expertise within a given marketplace. This is what some of the reasons why you would want to attack a market. Another little story I kind of find really cool is that we were working with a large chiller manufacturer, and they do chillers and they do cooling processing. And they were like, "Hey, Walt, we got milk, and we want to attack the dairy industry." And we're like, "Okay, man, that's cool. Yeah, that's awesome." And when we looked at it on the surface, they had the perfect technology that was like perfect for them to attack the dairy market. But once we dug deeper, um, we began to see that what they didn't have was the route to market. They thought they had the channel, they thought they had distribution, um, but when we dove in, they really didn't have the route to market, because you need a network and you need a different type of product portfolio to serve kind of those food and beverage marketplaces. And so what ended up happening is through our research that we did, we said, hey, look, it's going to take too much effort and too much resources to try to penetrate this market and get to the number that you want to get to within a year or two. So we recommended they would pivot, and where they pivoted was into brewery, which again was awesome. We pivoted. The chillers would work there, and they had the proper route to market. So that's an example again of sometimes when we do these attacker markets, knowing what not to do or what not to go after is equally as important, right? But all that said is, if you have these 7 bullet points or whatever, how many, 6 bullet points, these are common reasons why we work with a lot of our clients when they do the attacker market. So what can you expect when we do attacker markets, right? Look, we want to move the needle, right? We want to turn that strategy and align our sales and marketing teams and clarify the value to the marketplace and accelerate our market penetration by building those beachheads. And when we do attacker market, these are the things that we expect to come out of those attacker markets. Is we want shorter sales cycles, right? We want higher close rates. I'm a confident salesperson. I should be able to close rates because I know the industry. I'm armed with the tools that I need to tell my story. We want to build the stronger brands in that niche market. We want to educate the sales force and the market with our application expertise. We want to position ourselves as the authority figure in that space, and that's how you end up building credibility, build on your reputation, and you end up building stronger brands. And like I said earlier, we want to build confident sales forces, man. Whether it's distribution, whether it's direct sales, maybe it's sales reps. There's nothing salespeople, their whole reputation is on the line when they talk to customers. And so if they're not comfortable with the technology or they're not comfortable with an application or a market, they'll typically shy away from putting themselves out there because their reputation really matters to them. And so by educating the sales channel and showing them where the opportunities are, we can give them that confidence and the tools they need to really win. And that's what we try to do with an attacker market. We also look at sales enablement. We look at your tech stacks. How are you leveraging your tech stacks? How are you using them? How are we using them to help sales? How are we using it to collect information, to understand the digital signals that are coming, right? How are we using all the tech stacks, along with our marketing and sales strategies to really for maximum effect, right? And we do all of this really is to lower the risk for companies entering a new market. We want to be smart, we want to be deliberate, and we want to be purposeful with how we attack a market. So by doing all this stuff up front, educating ourselves on the market, becoming the experts and application, building that application knowledge, we lower that risk when attacking markets. So how do we do this, man? It's about focus. It's about focusing all of our attention and resources onto a single market. So like imagine if we just said, hey, and I know this is impossible because there's always going to be multiple things, but imagine if we just focus our resource onto one niche market and we put all of our resources, all of our energy and efforts into winning that market. What would happen, right? I think you would win and you would win fast. And so that's what we try to do with these attack markets. So we focus on those key market segments, we develop that expert knowledge base. And we try to understand the customer journey and the buying influences, right? When we sell capital equipment into companies, there's always a decision tree that exists. You have your decision makers and the influencers, and they all have different value drivers. They all have different needs, and try to understand that and try to align our communication in a highly targeted, precise manner is what's going to win today. And the tools today allow us to really do that, man. We could pinpoint the down to the geo, down to the company, down to the job title that we want to go after, and then we craft, personalized communication around that helps us create that awareness and that preference, right, that we want. And so we're communicating along the decision tree, and hopefully that's manifesting into positive results. But we're always measuring. We're trying to understand. We're trying to look at all the digital signals that are coming through all of our, digital hooks that are out there along a campaign, and trying to optimize, analyze, and repeat. So we're always tweaking the dials. And so that really encapsulates what an attacker market is. And this is kind of a fish diagram that we use to kind of help guide the process. And when we do a discovery, we start with this discovery. We try to understand ourselves. Who are we? What do we mean? Why are we important to the market or to our customers? And try to start there. We build that strategic foundation. Then we educate ourselves in the market, trying to understand the market situation, the buyer journeys, who are the personas. Then we go into motivation side of it. Where are the opportunities? How are we positioning our message? What is our content strategy? What's our channel strategy? What's our value proposition to that niche application or that niche market? And then we execute, right? We do all the marketing and sales execution, all the marketing tactics that we're all familiar with, but all in alignment towards a business objective, all in alignment towards a business goal that should be shared between sales and marketing. So that way, everyone's got skin in the game. And that way, we're breaking silos, and we're winning together, and we're losing together, and we're learning together, and we're moving fast together. And that's kind of, this here gives you an idea of framework that we use. So this is an additional framework that we use to ask questions, right? And if I'm a marketer, I would take a screenshot if you don't have this of this, but it's two questions, man. Where do we want to play and how do we want to win? And so we ask ourselves a battery of questions and we try to fill in these boxes. And when you fill in these boxes, what happens is you get all the data and information you need to really start crafting a strategy, a message, and a go-to-market plan that is going to be actionable. So we use this here as a process for us. Again, kind of going back to how do we do it? We narrow the focus. We narrow the focus. In this case, we we were working for a heat exchanger company that was focusing on HVAC, right? And so we'd say, okay, HVAC is big, but let's break it down to smaller pieces. And so we had district energy, air conditioning, residential heating, refrigeration, et cetera. And then we broke down the submarkets there. And so again, like we said, we want to create that expert knowledge base, and we create all the training tools, the collateral, all the tools that you would need to support that builds on that expert knowledge that we want to communicate. Then you take all that information and target it to key influencers, whether it's the engineers, specifiers, could be OEMs, and we target those personas, and then we measure the results. And we want to measure not only the marketing KPIs, but we also want to measure sales KPIs. We want to understand the process between a MQL or marketing qualified lead to a sales qualified lead, and where is the campaign driving MQLs, and are we converting it to SQLs? Those are the type of things that we're looking at. That's why having an understanding of your tech stack and how you're using it, and if you're using it effectively, is super important. But this kind of gives you a snapshot of what that looks like for us. So what do you get out of this? I'm not going to go through all those bullet points, but now we get into the tactical deliverables of what we put together. Again, that strategic foundation, that research, that brand discovery, and then kind of that go-to-market strategy that gets put together. And all this is done in collaboration. This isn't like DH, doing it, going off by ourselves. No, man, this is a shared experience. We're working shoulder to shoulder with you in a collaborative way just to get after it, right? And we want to win as just as bad as you guys do. So it's a team effort. And so the three components remaining are we educate the market, we motivate the market and the sales channel, and then we activate the market. And then we do kind of like market overviews, we'll do kind of landing pages, we'll have all these digital tools available to you. How does the product work? How do you maintain the product? We have animations, whatever is needed, right? And then the targeting piece, like where are these people? How do I get in contact with them? What are their value drivers? What do they care about? So we target the markets, the niches, and the audience, and we segment that, and we develop a content strategy, and then we try to find and build leads around that, right? And so that is the motivation piece. Is like, hey, it's not like a set and forget it type thing. It's like, nah, I'm going to show you that there's this company in Georgia, and they have 3 process engineers that work on this part of the process, and these are the guys we want to target, and we're going to build up a marketing plan to attack those 3 process engineers. And that's how we begin to activate the market. And then from a kind of broad perspective, from activating the market, we communicate and educate the market. We do publicity, we do advertising, we do all kinds of outreach, webinars and trade shows, to kind of spread the word, and kind of create that awareness and that awareness around preference, right? Typical timeline. I know this is kind of an eyesore here, but it really is 90 to 120 days to kind of give you an idea of how long these things take, from discovery to strategic communication to the tactical execution. We typically between 90 and 20 days, depending on the level and the complexity of that market. To kind of give you an idea, all the markets that we've done attacker markets with. I'm not going to go through them, but energy, biodiesel, breweries, concrete. This one here, just Conquer the Clog. It's one of my favorite attacker markets. This was an international pump company focused on the water, wastewater, the municipality side, and they had a new product that avoided clogs. That was one of the biggest pain points for municipalities, is that all the stuff, disposable wipes, bags, plastic, debris, they come in and they clog these pumps. Well, they had a pump that avoided that, and so they needed to educate their channel, because this was a new technology, and they needed to educate them fast on it. So we developed an attacker market around the idea of how do you conquer the clog, which was one of the biggest pain points in the industry. And so we initiated that campaign. And the story behind this image is, this is an actual photograph that we did. This is a river. For those of you that are into geography, this is the San Joaquin River, which is the largest river in California. And so we went to this river, and we did this. We built that debris. It was actually we built it, and this is an actual guy that an actor we put together, and we put him in the river, and he was breaking through the clog. And I love this image. So, anyways, backstory, probably talking too much here, but yeah. So this kind of gives you an idea of all the markets that we have. So if any of you have similar markets or want to attack these spaces, it's not like we're starting from scratch. We have a deep, immersive understanding of these markets, and we would just love to kind of just dive deeper within your application or your solution. Okay, man, 5 things that you can take away, right? Is that focus fuels growth, right? If you target with precision and purpose, you're going to win out the day, right? And what we also want to do is strategy to action, right? Meaning we want to move from theory to execution, and we want to align leadership with that. One of the most important things that we recommend when we do attack market is that someone get assigned, whether it's a market manager or business development person, someone's got to own the market. Someone's got to own the program. Oftentimes what happens is, it says, oh, this is a marketing initiative, or this is a sales initiative. And it's bigger than that. And so having key ownership and someone who's intimately involved in the market is critical to the success and the acceleration of growth. Confidence converts, man. We got to equip our sales teams with the tools to help them close, to give them the confidence, to give them the knowledge and expertise, and speak confidently about our products in their applications that we're going after. So we're perceived and seen as the authority figure in that space, right? Where we build our reputations, where we build our brand equity. And that's how we do it, is through the knowledge and expertise that we bring to those niche markets. Speed wins, right? The swift is going to eat the slow. That's more pressing than ever. At the end of the day, we're not to get down a rabbit hole around AI and all this, but this digital transformation, it's all about speed to decision. And the faster we can get to a place, the quicker we can outflank the competition. That's going to accelerate our time to revenue. And we are modernizing our attacker markets along those fronts. So you're getting smarter a lot faster. You're able to make quicker decisions with confidence. And we're delivering value-added communication at the right time, to the right person, at the right place. And we're sharing all of this knowledge together with sales, marketing, and product management, because we're learning and we're trying to understand not only the product and the application and the market, but the customers. How are they experiencing our brands? How are they using our technologies? What are their pain points? And collecting all that information. And then lastly, we're always thinking about scale that works, right? How do we build a repeatable growth engine? So going back to the first story that I told you guys about soaps and detergents, um, and the mental shift, right? Moving from just positioning ourselves as refined fuel guys or fuel transfer guys, and to broader to say, yeah, we do thin fluids. Well, that opened up a whole new world to us because then we went from soap and detergents, and then we went looking for other thin fluid applications, which led us to ethanol applications, which led us to biodiesel applications, right? Which led us to liquid terminal applications, which led us to paints and coatings and dangerous chemicals and other applications that had similar thin fluids and operational parameters. So the business began to position ourselves not around just this one finite market around fuels, but around thin fluids. And they began to position themselves in these other markets, building those beachheads, building credibility into that. So think about the scale that also is there for you guys to take advantage of. And so that's it. That's the attack market in short. So let me go to our screen here so I can see some of your questions here. Oh, here's some questions. I'm glad you guys are asking. Okay, I have an anonymous attendee. Okay, anonymous. If an attacker market requires so much focus on one target market, how do you know when the trade-off of ignoring other markets isn't costing more than the gain? So that's a great question, and obviously it depends, right? And you know we have um, that answer, but it depends on understanding your current market space and understanding whether it's saturated or or if there's existing growth opportunities. But these programs are often used for new or emerging markets or adjacent markets, or when you're trying to find growth elsewhere. So the assumption is that if you are doing an attacker market, that you are looking for growth elsewhere other than your core markets. And so understanding whether you've achieved saturation within your market or it's too competitive or whatever is something that we would have to understand. But I hope that answers your question. And then in regards to whether it costs more, we do market sizing. We're trying to understand the opportunities, the total addressable market, the serviceable addressable market, and we look at the ROI and the return on energy that it takes. So is it even worth pursuing that market? Are we going to get the juice that we want, right? So anonymous attendee, love the story on how you look broadly at thin fluids to help identify new opportunities in the pump space. Any other advice on how to identify what market might be worth attacking? Yeah, so I look at your core markets, try to understand the shared attributes and common operational parameters that could be applied elsewhere in other markets, and like the thin fluid concept. And then once you get to like a market that you think could work, then you have to do the analysis on that market, right? You have to do a competitive assessment. You have to do a product application fit assessment, and then you have to do a route to market assessment, right? Can we deliver on our promises? Can we deliver our products? And do we have the market knowledge and expertise? And if you say yes to all three, but you don't have the market knowledge and expertise, that's where the impact market can help you cross over that line. So that's where I would start, is understanding my application and operational profile, and then looking outside of my core market to see what other similar niche markets I can apply that to. And once you hone in on that, then dive deep. And then also remember, you're sitting on, decades of information, right, within your own database, and looking internally in your own database, trying to identify the outliers, Like, why are we selling into soap and detergent manufacturers? There was like a blip, and it was a big enough blip to spark that curiosity. And then when we dug deeper, we began to understand why. When it's because of the thin fluids, the transfer of glycol and triglycerides, right? So oftentimes looking at your own data, understanding what that's telling you, what stories we can derive from that is where a good place to start. And then I have another question here is what happens if sales and product teams resist the focus attack market demands? How do you prevent the program from stalling because of internal misalignment? Yeah, that's a good one. This is like I said, man, this is not a marketing initiative. This is not a sales initiative. This is a sales and marketing initiative where we are all in agreement that this is a niche market where growth exists. And a way to help sales resist is by helping them understand the opportunities, showing them where the opportunities are. Hey, look, I'm going to show you where the fishing holes are, right? And all you got to do is cast the line here, and then you got to catch the fish, right? But showing them the opportunity, showing them the value of the effort, and then having kind of a shared approach to it. It's like, hey, we've got skin in the game too, and we're both on the hook for hitting our numbers. And our job as marketers is to help you achieve your goals so we can hit those numbers. So having that shared responsibility and accountability is a way to get around that. And then lastly, someone's got to own it, man. This can't be a general thing like, oh, marketing has it. No. John Doe owns this. He's the marketing manager. His job is to immerse himself and understand this space. And he's going to be the bridge between marketing and sales. And he's going to be the guy or the gal that really owns this market. So identifying somebody seems to work oftentimes. I got another one here. What happens if we bet on the wrong market? Does the program include built-in checkpoints to pivot quickly, or could we waste 6 to 12 months chasing the wrong target? That's a good question. Look, you're going to have an upfront investment for sure, right? The research, the collateral that gets built into educating the market, and then you won't really know until we start selling into the marketplace. But the way that we prevent that is we do the upfront research ahead of time. We identify the markets, and this isn't just us looking at a research, paid research document from whoever. This is us doing VOC with the channel, doing VOC with customers. This is internal discovery. And so we try to eliminate as much risk out of it, but you really don't know until you start hitting the streets, until you start putting your message out there. And then you start looking at the bookings that are starting to happen. And then once you get the bookings starting to happen, then you can assess whether you're winning or losing. We can also look at kind of the marketing metrics around traffic, around engagement, around people, filling out form fills to say, hey, I'm interested. We also look at that. And that gives us clues into what's working, what's not. And oftentimes, this isn't, this is a long-term view on a market. Like if you're going after soaps and detergents, and it's a new market for you, yeah, we want to see return on investment within 6 to 12 months. But at that point, you're committing a sales organization to attack that space. And so for us, this is a 1 to 3 year program that gets implemented. But that's a good question. Anonymous attendee number 4. When trying to expand into a new market, what risks should our sales team watch for when expanding? Well, that's a good one. When trying to expand into a new market, what risks should our... Yeah, look, marketers inherently are eternal optimists, right? And we're always going to be thinking things are going to work. we've got great marketing. It's going to convince people, and they're going to go to our landing pages, and we're going to convert leads, and we'll hand off to leads to the sales, and sales going to be so happy, and they're gonna sell. So we have that eternal optimist view. But with how we look at risk is what we try to do is the first engagement or the first sales that begin to happen, we want to really dive deep into those and understand if our hypothesis is correct. Did you buy the product because of you're trying to solve these pain points? Why did you buy the product? How was the experience? Where did you find us? I found you on search, and then I went to your landing page. Oh, great. So, that's kind of how we try to mitigate that, is by understanding the initial flow of sales as well as engagement that begins to happen with our marketing programs. And then the important piece here is the internal communication. So, what happens is we would like to have, like, once a month, or maybe whatever the frequency is, we sales and marketing comes together, and we say, hey, what's working, what's not working, why did salesman, number one, why did you sell this, or how did the sale happen? Was it by accident, or was it purposeful? Marketing, hey, sales, we are seeing these trends. These are the digital signals we're picking up. For whatever reason, our data is showing that customers are skewing around this pain point. Should we accentuate this pain point and our solution for it more, or is this something that we just let go? So having that collaborative meetings at least once a month with the program is a good way to mitigate that and expand and learn from it. And that's the whole goal, is we're trying to learn customer behaviors. We're trying to learn markets. We're trying to understand and learn together, because oftentimes these are new markets we're going into. Maybe they're new customers, and so it's all about learning. So, and I think that's all the questions I have. Are there any other questions someone want to say, or see here? Anybody else? Bueller? Or nope. Oh, I think I have one more. Hold on. If the program works, again, this is from anonymous attendee. If the program works and we gain share in the new market, how do we ensure it's sustained growth and it's just not a quick win? Yeah, I think for us, we look at, this is long tail, right? So if we've done our due diligence, if we've done our homework, we know what the growth CAGR, R is for the next 5 years, and we like it. We look at, hey, in 5 years, this is how much, market share, or this is how much new business we should be able to gain, right? And so we're looking at sales, and maybe year one, we hit a certain goal or metric. And in year two, we're trying to hit this goal and metric. And so we're always looking at the performance of the campaign. We're looking at the performance of sales. And we're trying to get better and understand what's happening so we can repeat it, right? We want to do more of what's working and less of what's not working. And so in order for us to ensure sustainability into that market, you got to have that owner, right? That market manager, that is the champion of this. You got to have that sales and marketing collaborative approach where we're in it together, right? We got skin in the game, and sales, and marketing are brothers in arms going after a specific target or competitor. And then what does the data say? And how do we improve ourselves? How do we How do we get better at communicating? How do we get better at closing? Are there any tools that you need that's missing? Or if I had, maybe you need an explainer video that you need to help you explain how the technology works. Whatever, we're trying to understand along the way over that projected growth rate over 5 years. And so that's kind of how we look at these attacker market. It's not like a quick hit thing. It is a long tail approach to a business objective. And I know that's hard to do for businesses, especially in today's climate. But if you keep, your eye on the prize, and if your corporate strategy doesn't change year over year, and you stay the course, we should be okay. Okay. Anybody else? Anyone? Well, I think that's it, guys. I really appreciate your time. I'm impressed that many of you stayed on. I thought I would have like half the people leave, but thank you for your time today. I hope there's some key takeaways for you guys, something that you could take and maybe think about and execute right now. Look, I'm an open book. I'm available to anyone at any time. If you just want to talk and chat, ask a question, you might have a challenge, you might have a problem, hit me up. I'm here to give back and here to help in any way I can. And again, I'm very appreciative of your time. So with that said, I think we're good. All right. Bye, everybody. Go back to my coconut drinks here. Take it easy. Wow.